There's a question that comes up in this week's parasha, last week's parasha. The Kedushat HaLevi asked the question. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak from Berdichev. He asks, we have measurements. In this week's parasha, we bring the Ketoret. Hashem, there's korbanot in this week's parasha. Hashem says to bring this amount, to bring that amount. Last week's parashiot, we had the measurements for the Mishkan. It has to be this big, it has to be that big, it has to have this amount of items and this amount. There's a lot of counting going on, a lot of measuring going on. There's an obvious question. The Gemara in Baba Messiah says, and everybody knows this saying, En haberacha sholetet ela al davar shesamui min ha'ayin. There is no beracha on something unless it's concealed, it's hidden from the human eye. So now, if the Torah tells us that we have more beracha when it's not looked at, when it's hidden, when it's not counted, we know when we count, you're not supposed to say 1, 2, 3, 4, you're counting a minyan, whatever it is. Even money, our rabbis tell us, it's a halakha and Shulchan Aruch. Try not to count your money, right? Of course, if someone's paying you, right, we have to use common sense or whatever it might be. But we know the more we look at something, the less beracha is in there. So how can it be that in the Mishkan, in the Korbanot, in the Ketoret, everything has a measurement? So the Kedushat HaLevi gets a little deep. He goes into the subject of Ayin Hara. We're not going to get too heebie-jeebie eyes tonight, obviously. But he explains that everything in the world is really, we spoke about this before, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but everything is Hashem's imagination, what Hashem is thinking. And the human being also, by his thinking, helps create things happening in the world because we're a piece of Hashem. When a person looks at something, it's not like he just sees it. His eyes are sending forward messages, and it's receiving back what he sees, and it goes into his mind, and it sort of makes it that it happens there. First of all, if you think about how Hashem made the human eye, you could talk about it for the next 1,000 years without end. Ma rabu ma'asech Hashem. So now what we look at and how we look at it is really what we see in front of us, all around us. If somebody has, God forbid, a negative energy, he looks at things negatively, then obviously he's having a bad effect on that item, like we just said. Because the physical aspect of that item is really how you look at it and how you think about it. If somebody looks at something with a good attitude, with positive outlook, and he puts God in there, which is the ultimate good, then what he's doing is bringing physical beracha to that item. When Hashem commands Moshe with all the measurements, and he commands him with the measurements of the Mishkan, and the measurements of the Korbanot, the Ketoret, the Kohanim, the Kohen Gadol, who are these people? These are people with an Ayin Tovah, a positive, good outlook on life. They look at everything, they look at the good of everything, they put Hashem into everything, they put religion into it, which is the ultimate good as well. So Hashem could tell Moshe to count, because Moshe, since he looks at everything with a good attitude, he's not going to have a negative effect on it. Not only would he not have a negative effect on it, but he's going to bring beracha into the item. But if, God forbid, the opposite, someone looks at something negatively, then God forbid, it could make things not have blessing in it.